Hello everyone, I'm Varsha Pal, your host for today's webinar. On behalf of Team Packone and Paper Converting Machinery Company, along with printpackaging.com and Network Event, I extend a warm welcome to our speakers and attendees who have joined us from across the world. The webinar today focuses on PCMC's Meridian Elite, which is one of the fastest, smartest, safest, and most effective Anilox rolled cleaners in industry today. Joining us are two eminent speakers from PCMC, Mr. Rodney Pennings and Mr. Rich Stratz. With 27 years of experience at Paper Converting Machine Company in various roles of engineering operations leadership, Rodney is currently serving as a sales director for the printing, coating, and laminating division at the company. Mr. Rich Stratz, currently based in Denver, Colorado, who is the sales manager strategic accounts at PCMC for the past 8 years. He has been involved in graphic arts for the past 41 years in various roles. Today's session brings together a knowledge platform, machine demo, and an opportunity for the attendees to share their questions and also their valuable vote to the polls we will run in between the session. Before we start, I would like to share some housekeeping news for the webinar. The session is being recorded. All attendees will be on mute and their videos off. Please share your questions in the Q&A box and not in the chat window. Team PCMC will respond to the questions during the sessions and some will be taken up by our panelists at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. We have two audience polls today and request you to take them as they come. The attendees will have 30 seconds for each poll. You can submit your answers in the same time frame. Now I hand it over to Mr. Rodney and Mr. Rich, who will take up the sessions from here. Over to Mr. Rodney and Mr. Rich.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, why don't we jump to the next slide and we can talk. One more slide, please. First, I'd like to talk about just laser cleaning technology in general. We found, there's three key aspects to it. It's the best cleaning performance, it's effective and repeatable cleaning, and it's really because the laser light has the ability to get down in the bottom of the cells and effectively clean them. When you have other technologies like chemical cleaning and media blasting, that media may not be able to get down in the cells and effectively repeatedly get you back to full available volume. The experiences that we've had, as many of you may know, is Paper Converting is a press manufacturer, both inline presses and CI presses. So we fully understand what it takes to run a press. And we found that our customers who've had presses and our Meridian Elite laser cleaner have found that their first pull color has come in much quicker. So they've been much more repeatable in their color matching, which is a significant portion of the changeover process. That equates to less waste and more money in our clients' pockets. It's the greenest technology, so there is no waste stream. There's no chemicals to, either from the financial side purchase or dispose of. There's no cost of cleaners. Many times I've been in plants and seen a media blaster and the gentleman's got a mask on and he's all suited up just because the media gets everywhere. So there's none of that. It's a very, very clean technology and obviously very green because all that's left is the ablated ink that goes in basically a dust collection bag, can be disposed of. And it's the lowest cost of ownership. There's no consumable media to buy. It's only electricity. There's no air required. Low labor costs. Operator can be multitasking, and we'll show some of the Industry 4.0 features of the machine that allow the operator to multitask and get alerts, when it's done cleaning, so you can optimize your press room, pre-press room. And Rich, feel free to chime in anytime as we go through here.
I would, when you talk about the lowest cost of ownership, Rodney, from an electrical standpoint, The Meridian Elite only uses half a kilowatt hour worth of power every 20 minutes. So that's a fraction of the cost of what our competitors' stuff is doing currently.
Great. Thanks, Rich. Next slide, please. This slide kind of points out that, or does point out that the Meridian Elite is backed by the strength of PCMC. We're a global organization with multiple manufacturing facilities. We have over 1,400 employees. We have over 170 engineers and over 132 service techs globally. And you can see from the locations on the map where we're geographically located. And you'll also see, the depth of support that in later slides, the depth of support that we can provide remotely. All installations meet various global regulations, whether it's CEUL in the US, CSA in Canada. Next slide, please. So the Meridian Elite was born from its predecessor, the Meridian. And as you can see, the chassis is a tube weldment structure, very robust. And as a press manufacturer, we understand, how to make equipment. You're not going to find equipment from PCMC that's built with 80-20 in channel that is flimsy. This is a robust weldment that can support the weight of not only sleeves, but large gravure rolls, heavy coating rolls, and you'll see that a little later in the presentation. It's a solid structure. We have a nice, easy hood access. The hood on the top lifts open to allow you for those large, heavy rolls. You can actually have a jib crane that can lower the roll back down in, or it's just ease of use when you're lifting in or setting in a sleeved Anilox. One key difference in the Meridian Elite versus our previous offering, and also versus some of the other alternate options out there, is that PCMC's designed it with true industrial PLC controls. So we've over the years, we've tested various levels of controls platforms, and PCs are PCs. They have their application, they do well, but they lock up, they're suspect of viruses, those types of things. So as a press manufacturer, we just fundamentally believe industrial PLC controls is the way to go. So we were able to find to provide a high-end industrial PLC that is able to do a lot of the signal generation required for the advanced algorithms that PCMC has in the actual laser technology. As I've mentioned a few times, PCMC is an equipment manufacturer, a press manufacturer. So we have true 24/7 tech support and service. So you can call a PCMC number 24/7, get an answer, and we will not only have a front-end person that can support you with parts needs, but we also have a technical resource on call at all times that can support you, again, 24/7. Now, I will readily admit that the Meridian Elite doesn't necessarily need that much 24/7 support, but it's comforting to know that it's there and available should you need it. Next slide, please. A couple of these pictures show just the robust nature of the design. So a nice solid chain drive. The prox on top there is used to locate if you see the orange discs, clamshell discs that are used to support the rolls when they're running on the surface on the left-hand side. Those two holes on the top are used to adjust them. So there's Allen screws in there that you adjust them and slide them to fit your Anilox roll. So the prox on the right-hand side is used to always position that on top for convenient access for the operator. The picture in the middle on the top is showing a larger heavy roll. It just shows the robustness of the machine. The machine doesn't even flinch when you set a large 1,500, 2,000 pound roll in it. We have full seal bearings and automatic tensioners, and these are just basic blocking and tackling that we use in our press designs that we've taken forward into the Meridian Elite laser cleaner. Next slide, please. One key aspect of the Meridian Elite is the vacuum system. So obviously, as we ablate the ink with the laser line on the roll surface, that ink turns into dust that then needs to be extracted away. So on the left-hand side, you see the canister with easy access. It's got a multi-stage filter in it that I'll talk about in a second. Shown in the middle on the bottom with the lid down. And again, this is easily accessed from the end of the machine. You just take the guard off. That canister the lid hooks up and latches up like shown on the left. You can physically pull the canister out of the machine if you'd like to, or you can reach in and change the filters.
And Rodney, I would just add that when looking at this type of technology, you want to focus also on the extraction vacuum type system. And environmentally, it's important, but also from a maintenance standpoint, the fact that you're capturing the ablation process right at the point of the ablation will keep the dust and the ink from clinging to the glass surfaces. And we'll get to the glass surfaces, but that's the lens for the laser, the distance sensor, and the camera. And it also keeps the dust from getting inside the enclosures as well.
Great, thanks, Rich. So the other thing to point out here is it's actually a 3-stage filter. There's a 5 micron, 1 micron, and a 0.3 micron HEPA filter built into it. Most folks don't need or use the 0.3 micron filter, but it's good to know it's available. We have alerts. The machine will alert you if the bag filter is becoming clogged or the pancake filter is becoming clogged. And you can get that, you'll see it a little bit, some of the industry 4.0 features, but you can get that, you will get that alert on the screen on the machine. If you have it set up, you will get that alert in a text or an email sent to your maintenance people. And again, I'll tie back to the fact that we're a press manufacturer. We have a lot of customers that are running, printing for food applications. And we were asked, can I place my Meridian Elite out right next to the press and still meet all my food grade requirements? So we did have it third-party certified, did an air quality test. You run 8 hours, you test it for 8 hours without it running, test it for 8 hours with it running, and there was no noted difference in the air quality around the unit with or without it running. Next slide, please. Now on to the history of laser cleaning. So if we talk a little bit about history on the PCMC's predecessor to the Meridian Elite and many, if not all, of the competitor offerings. So a laser is generated and there's a pivoting, they call it a galvo technology. So the scanner is pivoting back and forth, going left and right, making the laser line from the laser dot. As you do that, obviously, as you decelerate down on the left-hand side and then accelerate back up, more time is spent in that area. Same thing on the right-hand side, and you have a phenomenon that's called hot spots. The more time is spent on the sides, and the way that is addressed in the older versions of the machine is that on the lower right-hand side, you see the shutters or covers that are just they block off those lines. It works just fine. The problem is over time, as you clean things, it's just a little more finicky on maintenance. We found that the Meridian Elite, because of the newer technology, has been much less maintenance required to keep it in optimal performance. And the other thing I'll also tell you is linear motion versus rotary motion, just in mechanical design, machine design, and controls. Linear motion is always more problematic than rotary motion. Next slide, please. This graphic depicts the new patented PCMC technology in the Meridian Elite. And it's really a rotating scanner. So instead of a pivoting linear motion, stopping and starting on the ends, it's rotating at high speeds. The beautiful part about that is there's precise control of the beam. There's interlocks for reliability. So if that rotational scanner slows down running, say, 10,000 RPM, and if it slows down to 9,500 RPM, we can turn off the laser, versus a pivoting mirror system that's pivoting at 10,000 cycles per second. If that stops in a spot, that can be a problem. So it's just a much more robust design.
So Rodney, you indicated that this is the new new design. How old is this design?
It's good. That's good feedback. For us, we launched this a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And you'll see later we have over 100 of this design out in the field running.
Thanks.
The beautiful thing about this design is that the energy at the roll surface is 1/3 of the energy as the previous design. So again, the line is much longer. It was able to increase our speeds. So, time is on our side. And then the energy at the roll surface is much lower. Cleaning cycle times cut in half. We have
And
a
Robbie,
true, go ahead, Rich.
in that, from the ablation energy per pulse stuff, who designed all that, the legwork and the programs and put the system together?
Yeah, good question. So it's 100% designed by PCMCs, engineers, and design staff. We, unlike others, we are the manufacturer that provide and support the equipment. We're not a reseller.
Thank you.
And the last thing to point out here is some of the smart features of the machine. The way we look at Industry 4.0 and we apply to all our equipment, it's smart and connected features. Smart features make it much more user-friendly. So we have automatic roll sensing, so there's no chance to enter the wrong diameter. The operator, even if they enter the wrong diameter, we would autofocus and optimize that focus distance for the laser. So we automatically detect the diameter. Next slide, please. All right, at this point, we'll run through a video showing the demonstration of the unit.
Okay, so now we are to the live demo portion of the webinar. The first thing I want to say is that all the tools that I'm using to remote connect to this machine are the same tools and methodologies that our engineering staff and our service and support staff use to connect to Meridians all over the world 24/7. So I will admit that the Meridian Elite is so robust that we rarely need to connect to it, but should you need some support 24/7, you could call our helpline and they would use the same tools to get online. Next thing I'll do is we'll look at the screen. So I have a view into the main ops of this machine, and you can see I can kind of move it around here. So this is the main screen on the Meridian Elite. And on this, you can see the dimensions of the roll. You have an 1143 millimeter roll face, the 148 millimeter diameter. And you can see it takes about just short of 9 minutes to clean on the light setting. So light, medium, heavy, and maximum, the 4 cleaning intensities, I guess I'd say, that we have. And all we're doing when we're changing that intensity is changing the amount of time it takes to traverse across the roll face. So medium is 11 minutes, 50 seconds. Heavy is, here for a second. Heavy is 14 minutes and 47 seconds. And maximum is 17 minutes and 44. So for the purposes of this demo, I will clean on heavy. And before I start the actual roll cleaning, I do want to show you, we have a fault screen here that shows any faults that are currently on there. Right now, there's a guard door. I actually had opened the guard door. I'll hit a reset and this will go away. But it shows any alarms, and there's alarm history here should you want to view that. If I go back to the alarm history, if I go back to the main screen, I can also go to the Anilox roll database. In the Anilox roll database, I can have my full list. It'll pop up here in a second. I can have my full list of Aniloxes. We can take a spreadsheet from you and enter them should you like it. You can manage them by roll IDs. You can manage them by machine type, however you see it. Right now, we're running a roll from a 42-inch Fusion C. I just select that Anilox and hit load Anilox, and it will pull its data in. We have the ability You see down here under history to see the last 10 cleanings, the time date stamped last 10 cleanings for this this roll that's being cleaned. You can see we cleaned the last 2 times the maximum, unlike the one before that, the time date stamp. There's a much more in-depth roll cleaning database in the cloud-based roll database that I'll show you shortly. But for now, I just wanted to show you that there is some data machine side that you can get should you like. I'll just get back to the main screen here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle over to the camera view. I can maximize this camera view. And I'm about to walk over and start the machine up. But before I do that, I want to explain a little bit what you're going to see. On the left, you can see the vacuum nozzle that vacuums away any ablated ink. The red dot right there on the back wall, that is the laser distance sensor, laser light. You'll actually see that this pivot down to the bottom of the roll, and then the mechanism will pivot up until it gets perpendicular. And we automatically sense perpendicularity and then get ourselves to the optimal cleaning distance and focal length for the laser. So it's a full autofocus using the laser photo eye. And then you'll see the scanner spin up and start to clean. So I will walk over at this point and start a cleaning cycle for you. Okay, as I said, you can see the roll, the head sliding over, finding the roll, finding perpendicular. And now the laser is finding its autofocus distance. And as soon as it does that, in the background, if you can hear it, it's fairly quiet, but you can still hear the vacuum blower start up. On the left-hand side of the roll, you start to see the cleaning line traversing across the roll face. As you watch this clean, there's a couple things that I want to point out. The first thing that I want to point out is, unlike our previous model and unlike competitive models, the cleaning cycle or the cleaning line is much more diverse, much more gentle on the roll face. So you're going to see a more gradual clean happening from the leading edge to the trailing edge of the laser cleaning line. In our previous designs and a lot of the competitive offerings for laser cleaners out there, you see a much more pronounced cleaning line at the front end, which means there's a lot more energy focused at the front. And we just philosophically believe the right approach is less energy at the roll face, evenly distributed, and more of a fine cleaning than a coarse, hard cleaning. And Rich, you always have a good way of describing that.
Yeah, Rodney, thanks. You've done a great job describing it. And with our older design, what we used to say is the leading edge did the heavy lifting and the rest of the tail did the final buffing and polishing. In this case, you can clearly see that it's a very gradual taper till it gets to the center, and then the center is doing the heavy lifting, and then the tail is doing some of the final cleaning. And while we're talking about the laser beam and energy and frequency and pulses, you'll notice that when you have a medium, light, heavy, and max, we never change the rotation of the Anilox or the gravure roller, and we never change any of the settings in the laser itself. The only thing that changes, like Rodney said, is how we traverse across the face of it. So what the engineers have done at light, the light setting, each cell sees that beam 12 times. And at our maximum setting, each cell sees that beam 24 times. So if you do the math, if this takes 7 minutes to clean at light, it's going to take 14 minutes to clean at maximum. I don't know, Rodney, if that makes sense, if you want to add anything to it. But I'm going to
Nope, you've articulated nicely. And as you can see, as if you watch certain spots in the rolls, they come through, they're fading as they go towards the tail edge. Every once in a while, if you look on the tail end, there's a little bit left there. I maybe could have cleaned this at maximum. We did do a manual ink up of this roll just for demonstration purposes. So now the other thing I'll say is key to notice here is the leading and trailing edge of this roll of this cleaning line. They're not a hard line. It's tapering away on the front and fading away on the back. Again, that's by the design, the rotational scanner design that we have patented. Just has the ability to be much more Anilox friendly, roll friendly, right? So while we are waiting for this to clean, I'm going to tab over and talk a little bit about the advanced features of Accelerate. So Accelerate is the PCMC suite of remote connected services that we provide for all of our products, whether they're inline presses, CI presses, or our Anilox cleaner. This is the implementation in our Anilox cleaner. So the one thing to note here is you can get a much more detailed view of the Anilox roll database history. So I can go in the past day, what rolls were cleaned in the last day. I can select the past week, past month, and you see at the bottom I get multiple selections and pages at the bottom, or I can go all time. Demonstrations purposes here, I'll go all time. Now, if I want to see the particulars on one specific roll, this roll right here has been cleaned 613 times for a total of actually 7 days of total cleaning time. Nice thing about this, one nice thing about the Meridian Elites roll database, I can actually go in and select, I can clean this roll. I want to clean it every 2 days, and I will get notifications. I will get reports, text alerts, and emails if I select that I want all of that. That tell me that this roll, I didn't save that, but I can set a roll interval and have it alert me that that roll is due for cleaning. It's all how you want to manage your Anilox roll inventory. You can select your roll ID as the actual serial number of the rolls. If you have a roll database in an Excel format, you can give it to us. We can put it in the cleaner for you. It's just a real nice feature. Let's get it down a little bit. I can export this data at any time into Excel. You just see I clicked it. I'll just format it so it's legible. But I can scroll back, and this gives me an Excel format. If you ever wanted to clean it, if you ever wanted to have that in Excel format for use, you could. You can actually enter the before and the after if you have your AniCam or 3D QC, microdynamics. You can enter your before and after volumes into the database. I'm not going to save this, but I can always export it at any time. I can actually enter the before and after volumes right here in the database should I want to. This customer's not using it. A nice cleaning roll history report here. This once a week will send you an email giving you indications of rolls that are overdue for cleaning. You see this customer doesn't have any overdue. Rolls that were due for cleaning this week. So there's one roll due for cleaning for one of PCMC ELS Maxes due this week with some stats on that roll from last week. So this is basically telling you how many rolls were cleaned, total runtime last week. And then rolls that you haven't, set the cleaning interval on is another category. Again, there's none of that. So it's just a nice, tool if you want to be religious about your management of your roll database and how how often you're cleaning them and keeping logging of the inventory, you can do that. On the right-hand side here, this machine is not running right now, but if it was, you'd see percent clean, that it's running, what level it's on, and total machine runtime. This machine has been running for 190 hours. Over here on the upper right-hand side, these are some administrator settings. As I said, you can get text alerts, email alerts, and reports from the machine. You just have to go in the administration settings here, set up your username, your email address, your cell phone number, set up your shifts, because you can actually set it up so that your shifts don't, so you're not getting texts in the middle of the night. It will send you text alerts each time a roll is done. It will send you text alerts when it's time for the filter to be cleaned.
So Rodney, with the strength of Accelerate monitoring, if a customer has something on there that we didn't show them today, can we groom anything to meet their needs from a reporting standpoint?
Yes, we can actually. We have worked with some customers that want a little more advanced diagnostics, a little more integrated into their systems. So we can work with folks that want to integrate it closer into the ERP system. We have customers that have 10 or 15 of these across multiple facilities and sites, and they want a global view of their Anilox inventory, and we've worked to integrate that for them.
Thank you.
No problem. So as we're cleaning here, we're seeing the progress it goes. We got about just short of 6 minutes left here to clean this. I'll toggle back to the screen view, and you can see the roll being cleaned. So, Rich, what have I missed? Have I missed anything else here?
No.
A little bit of time, yeah.
What I would add is that we don't require you to pre-treat or pre-wash the Anilox. We don't require you to wash, post-wash them and stuff. You don't need to wait for an Anilox to come back to room temperature because we don't introduce any heat. But what you do see is we have some high spots there that are coming around. And if you had drip marks from, a doctor chamber that sat overnight, all we ask is that you do put a little bit of solvent or something on there and wipe those and push that ink around. And that's what we're seeing right here is we have some high spots, and we're not running this on max right now, but that's just a good example of something that's not going to clean on the first time through.
Yeah, and what I'd say is if I open this up, I can actually, I might just do that so you can see what I'm doing here. Those cells they'll just flake right off. So I'm just lightly taking my finger across them, not even my fingernail, and I am just wiping on them with my finger. They're, as Rich pointed out, they're just on the surface, and I know I'm on the opposite side of what you're viewing here. What you're going to see is those will all be gone. Let me start back up here.
And this is another great example that the laser starts right where it stopped. So the laser doesn't have to go all the way back and start over. It just goes forward. But yeah, there you see Rodney was able to actually knock those off with his fingertips. So if this was to actually come right out of a press and into the laser cleaner, it would be a little bit different application. Here we manually made this Anilox dirty for this presentation because we didn't have any running presses on our floor right now. We have 4 presses on our floor, various degrees of assembly right now and test.
All right, so we have 3.5 minutes left. And I could actually clean this. I could change the cleaning settings on the fly if I wanted to, but I'll leave it here at heavy for now. Again, what'll typically happen is if you have multiple roll cleaners, you have the ability to have tiles that kind of show on your Accelerate, which machine you want to look at. You can look at multiple machines from one view. Three minutes left.
And then the simplicity of the guides and stuff we have, they're all Allen bolts, and you can see the openings right there as they go by. And when the cleaning process is done, or if you hit the stop button versus opening the lid, we always make sure that those hex head bolts are pointing up at 12 o'clock for ease of any maintenance or changes. Let's say you're going from a 1350 millimeter analogs down to a 800 millimeter, or you're going to put in two 800 millimeter analogs. It's just for ease of operation and stuff. And you can see also that our guys have put some lines in there. They've drawn some lines so that we know where the 42-inch goes to, or where a 52-inch would go, just for ease of setup.
Get back over to the screen here. Minute 42 left. And as I said, if you wanted to get alerts, you could set up your email and phone number in there. You'll get a text as soon as it's done. See, we're getting close to the end of the roll here. The laser will obviously continue beyond the edge of the roll because you got to get the full cleaning effort of the line through the entire roll. So you'll see it actually extend out beyond the roll. If we had multiple rolls, we had a second roll in here, you would see it just continue on. The line would actually bridge across both rolls and continue cleaning through the second row. So what you'll see as this finishes here, when the line gets across the end, you'll see the laser line turn off, and you'll see the camera and the nozzle actually traverse back across the roll face, set itself back in the home position, ready to run the next roll. And there we go. Video's a little choppy here, I apologize, but it's traversing its way across the roll face.
And I think with that, Rodney, we're ready to go back to the presentation.
All right. Sounds good. Let's pop back to the presentation. I will stop sharing my screen.
All right, so now that we've finished the video portion of the presentation, you've gotten a chance to actually see the unit work, see some of the smart and connected features of the Meridian Elite. Just wanted to cycle back and talk a little bit more about some of those features. The first, you see the operator interface, very intuitive, light, medium, heavy, maximum. Those selections are they are picked by the operator and by your Anilox management style, I'd say, based on how often you're cleaning. If you're cleaning every time it comes out of the press, you'll probably run light or medium. If you're cleaning it once a month, you may go heavy. What I would generally say is, it's all about how dirty the roll is, and you want to optimize that. So I have customers that actually measure the volume, and when they drop 10% in volume, that's when they clean them. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, good point, Rodney. And, to the selection of light, medium, heavy, max, there's like white, for instance, a lot of customers will always clean white with heavier max. But if it's like you're saying, if you're doing it daily, you'll do it on light or medium. What customers, when they first get the Meridian Elite, they'll do everything on max and make sure that their chemical wash hasn't left any ink down in the bottom of the cells for the last 6 months or a year. So the beauty of it is it's only a matter of time. It doesn't have anything to do with energy and performance and putting the Anilox at risk. So if your operators run everything at max, that means that they're just taking 50% more time or double the time than light. So it's very safe no matter which selection they make.
Thank you, Rich. And then as far as actual selection of the Anilox and getting the roll dimensions and the setup in there properly, like I said, it's all about how you want to manage your Anilox inventory. Some people just have press 1, press 2, press 3, and all the Aniloxes are cleaned on those, selections or recipes. Or many folks put a Anilox cleaning regiment in place, and they actually enter every roll serial number. And with that, if you do that, we have the ability to have an optional barcode scanner that you can scan, a barcode magnet that I see many people travel these magnets with the Aniloxes through their operations, and you can scan it to easily recall it from the roll database.
And
Go ahead, Rich.
yeah, and I was just going to add that we've also bringing an RFID chip reader to market as well. We've sold our first one, and we'll be updating our slides and pricing on that as well.
Great, thanks, Rich. Next slide, please. Again, another picture of the cleaner, but in this instance, this is where we have the ability to do multiple rolls. So you can do 2 large sleeves. On the right-hand side, you see some small tag and label press Aniloxes. We can do up to 4, and the selection of which unit you would look at purchasing will be based on the size of your Aniloxes, how many you want to clean at one time. You can get a 3000 or 3700 and stack a bunch of narrow web label Aniloxes in it, or you buy a 1700, you put 1 sleeve in it at a time.
And Rodney, the picture on the right is showing 10-inch Anilox out of a label type press. But I think based on the poll, we saw that there's a lot of people cleaning with chemicals and water. And you'll notice here that we don't have to protect the bearings or the gears. We don't have to put bags around them. And that's another, time-saving feature as well, right? So there's less prep and there's less de-prep after the cleaning process. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rich, because that's one of the big return on investment drivers for this is that one, the chemical wash, you don't have to bag the bearings and you don't have to protect them. And then inevitably, even if you do, you end up many times damaging them. So it's a very good point that saves you the time and saves you the money.
And then the same on the left with the sleeves, you don't have end caps and a big rod and wing, bolts to capture that. When you put it in a solvent chemical wash, they don't want water and chemicals inside the sleeve. In this case, you can clearly see there's nothing on the ends, and it just purely sets into place.
Yeah, that's another good point. How many times have we seen chipped ends on the end of a sleeve just because of handling by operators, and that can deteriorate as the chemicals get underneath it and make you need to re-engrave your roll. Next slide, please. Rich, I'll let you talk to this one because this was you actually. That's your hand there.
Yeah, everyone always asks, when do you use medium, light, heavy, max? Well, here's a situation where a customer actually had an adhesive roll Anilox stay in a machine over the weekend, and it completely dripped and coated their Anilox roll, and they were going to send it back to be recoated and who knows, spend $5,000 to $7,000 on that process. We said, give us an opportunity. They sent it to us, and it took 4 passes, but we continued to run it 4 times with the laser, and the adhesive actually came off in flakes. It came off in sheets, and you can see on the left is what it looked like when we got it, and then this is our engineer showing what the cleaning process looked like. And then the final product is on the right, and you can see it looks like it's brand new. So the return on investment and the money savings. So, you know, OPVs, varnishes, adhesives, inks, Anilox, Gravure rollers. This Anilox laser cleaner is open to all kinds of opportunities.
Thanks, Rich. Next slide, please. Again, talking about the Accelerate suite of services from PCMC. As I've mentioned multiple times, as a press manufacturer, we understand what the needs of the printer are in all aspects of the process in the daily life of a printer. So we understand that uptime is important. We understand that the robustness of the design cannot be sacrificed. And we've launched a series of smart and connected features, intelligent features in the machine to make it more user friendly, and then connected machines that drive, that provide data. They help us drive insights to take actions. Because when you talk about Industry 4.0, many times it's just charts and graphs, but nothing to drive action. So we have text and email alerts that say it's time to clean your filters, stuff like that to drive actions to maintain equipment properly. Next slide, please. I forgot to mention in the video portion, as we were talking about Accelerate and the dashboards that you can access from your PC, these are all mobile friendly too. So you can actually be on your iPhone or your phone. You can be checking the status of it. So you'll get text alerts, but you can actually go through and you can manage roll inventory and see it from your phone. This is all cloud-based. So as we develop further features and further advance it, those advances are pushed out to the equipment automatically, and you get them. And then we do high-speed remote support of all the products. And again, the Meridian lead is pretty robust. We rarely need to get online, but it is reassuring that should you need our support, we can actually see the video that I showed you during the video presentation, that camera view. We can see that, so we can see what's going on. If should you need the help, we can see the screen and we can support you 24/7. Next slide, please. Again, just a recap of the roll cleaning database, and how it looks. Again, as I said, all of this is available in a mobile format, so you can see it from your phone too. Next slide, please. Again, a zoom in of the camera view. These are the connected features where we can, that you saw the operator monitor. It's actually in Rich's background, where we have a 24-inch monitor right on the screen. We choose not to put a window in the unit. If that window gets cracked or over time has a problem, we just don't think that's the right approach. So we have a built-in camera for remote viewing and remote support as requested. Next slide, please.
And to your point there, Rodney, from a service standpoint, what we see on the screen, or what you're seeing on the screen, is exactly what we can see. So if we need to help troubleshoot, support, we can look right into the same camera view that you're seeing and help troubleshoot. It's just a very powerful tool.
All right, next slide, please. This is a zoomed in view, or a close-up view of the laser box. So the box that actually has the scanner in it. You see it's totally enclosed and sealed just to keep any dust and particulates out. What we recommend is when you get your alert and it's time to change your bag filter, you take a glass cleaner, just like I would with my glasses, and you wipe down the green lens. There is where the laser line is coming out of. The black to the left of it, black circular lens is the camera view. And then the one to the left of that with the yellow connector on it and the green check mark, that is actually the laser distance sensor. So simply wipe those down with a cleaning cloth at the same interval when you clean your bags is what we recommend. Anything else, Rich?
No, that's truly the simplicity of it. It's no different than how you would clean your glasses if you had a little wipe, chemical wipe. Just give it a quick wipe. Just like anything glass particulate just wants to adhere to glass. So doing it periodically is just a good maintenance item.
Great, thanks, Rich. Next slide, please. We're proud to say that it's actually over 120 Meridian Elites, as Rich pointed out. We have been shipping Meridian Elites since, I guess it would be January of 2020. So we've been shipping for 2 years now, and we are over 120. This graphic is a little old, so. And I neglected to say earlier, these are manufactured in 2 locations. They're manufactured in Green Bay, Wisconsin in the USA, and in Norway, Germany at our German facility. And then they're supported obviously worldwide with our network of service techs and support methods. Next slide. All right. This graphic just depicts the different sizes of units, and the basics are all the same. The right-hand side of the unit looks very similar with the screen, the camera, the brains of the unit are in the panel there, and then it's just different lengths of the unit. So we do 600 millimeters, 1200 millimeters, 1700, 25, 3000, and 3700. So it's when folks are selecting the size of the unit, it comes down to the size of the Aniloxes that you want to clean and how many you want to clean at one time. Next slide, please. And finally, just kind of a recap. The PCMC Meridian Elite is the fastest, smartest, safest, most efficient way to clean rolls, hands down. And based on the success and the number of machines that we've put in the field, we've had rave reviews on it. So this technology eliminates hotspots, an industry issue with laser cleaning that we've completely eliminated. It's the fastest cleaning times in the industry. We evenly, as we showed our cleaning process, instead of a hard cleaning edge, we have a gradual, more evenly distributed energy line that more polishes the roll than it does aggressively ablating the ink. We have the smart and connected features that put information at your fingertips, give you alerts and emails with reports on roll cleanings. It's just a great way to manage your roll database, and our cloud-based roll reporting and support methodologies are second to none. Next slide, please. With that, I think we are to the Q&A portion. So I'll hand it back, and Rich and I can answer some questions.
Well, that was an interesting walkthrough. Now, Mr. Vikram Potidar from Packone Solutions will join us to take a few questions from the audience and put them before our speakers. Giving you an introduction of Packone, it was established in 1990 in Mumbai by Mr. Vijay Potidar. Packone is focused in the flexible packaging and converting industry. It offers its stakeholders a compelling experience with technologically safe and sustainable solutions backed by excellent support. Over to you, Vikram.
Thanks for the introduction, Varsha. Thanks, Rodney and Rich, for this enriching experience we've just had. And now it's Q&A time. So we have quite a few questions coming in. We're going to try to answer as many as we can. And if there are any left out, then we will get back to you after the show. So for the first one is, how many lasers do you use in your design?
Rich, do you want to take that one?
Sure, I got that one. We use a single laser, and what we found is it's a much more efficient way of cleaning, and we can control the amount of energy being applied to the Anilox or Gravure surface. We have competitors that are trying to catch up to us in speed, and what we could do in 15 minutes was taking them 60 minutes to 90 minutes to do what we would do in 15 minutes. So our competitors are adding a second laser, which is adding cost, maintenance, stuff like that. So we use a single laser. It's a brilliant design.
Okay. And what is the life expectancy of the laser and typical maintenance? Is there any calibration required, like the kind that you use in the plate making systems?
I can take that one if you want, Rich. So the manufacturer's published spec on life is 100,000 hours. We've really not seen any end of life issues with the lasers as of yet, but that's the manufacturer's spec on the laser. And as far as calibration, there's no calibrations required. Similar to plate making equipment does require intermittent calibration. This does not, because we have our full autofocus system that is closed loop.
Okay. And do you have any Meridian elites in other countries outside of the United States?
Oh yeah, we have a number of them outside of the US. So there's multiple in Europe. There's some in Russia, some in Germany. We have some in
Australia, Japan,
Yep.
Philippines,
There's a number of them in Japan, actually.
Okay.
South America.
All
Yeah.
right. So then what about service for installations in India and spare part support?
Rich, you want to cover that one or you want me to?
Go ahead.
So service and support is handled through our support network. So as I pointed out many times, we have our PCMC presses, and Hudson Sharp is part of PCMC for bag and wicketed and pouch machines. So we use our global network of support and our partners to support the machines worldwide. We always have remote support available 24/7 directly from PCMC. We do have a follow the sun format for remote support, but we have local distribution of service and support. Same thing with parts. We'll locally supply parts available in various regions of the world.
Okay. Now, another interesting question is, does the laser damage the Anilox surface?
So I can take this one, Rich. We have seen over in some of the previous designs, some of our competitors' designs, I referenced hotspots where the galvo is pivoting back and forth. And if those hotspots get exposed, most times that's seen as just cleaner or dirtier areas, but you'll see it in the print. There have been instances where we've been asked to clean, say, a Teflon coating with a very large PCM, and we cleaned it, and the material didn't fully ablate out, so you had to brush it out. And they asked if we could put more energy into it and pop it out, and we did. We found that if we weren't at our standard settings, we could see some issues, so we immediately defaulted back to our standard settings. What I will say about the Meridian Elite versus our previous design and other designs is we've not seen an issue with this design. Again, the reason being, we've much more evenly distributed the energy on the roll face, dropped it by 2/3 of the energy at the roll face. And since we've done that, we've not seen issues.
And can the system also clean chrome gravure rolls?
Rich, why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Yes, absolutely. We call that a reflective surface. And as you can imagine, we're using a laser light beam on an Anilox. It's usually a dark ceramic surface. And you see, if you have inks on it, the laser absorbs into that ink and starts the ablation process. So with gravure, if anybody's printing with ink, gravure, our normal settings work just great. It's when we see a clear substance like a varnish or an OPV on it is where we might have to do a second pass, because we're reflecting off the chrome surface and that clear substrate is not absorbing all the energy of the light to initiate the ablation process. So we have a lot of applications where we're doing, customers have gravure and Anilox rollers that we're cleaning in the same plant with the same unit.
Right, I understand. Now, is there any hazardous process waste coming out of the cleaning process?
Rich, you want to take that one?
Sure, there is no hazardous waste coming out of it at all. It's a bladed fluxo ink. So the fluxo ink would be no different than if it's already printed on a plastic bag and you're at home and you throw out a plastic bag with fluxo ink on it. So the fluxo ink is in a powder form, ablated in a 5-micron paper bag, and that just gets disposed and goes to a landfill. So it's not considered hazardous waste. Fluxo ink in a liquid form is a different story. That would be considered a hazardous waste. And sometimes with a chemical cleaning process, some customers are not allowed to put it down the drain. They have to pay to have it shipped off and processed. So that's just another great strength of the Meridian Elite.
I understand. Then how much temperature is required to wash the Anilox? This is one of the questions that came up as well.
So there's actually, I'll take that one, Rich. There's actually no, when you saw in the video that I opened it up and touched the Anilox, there's no residual heat on the roll. So many times with a chemical wash, the roll is warm and you can't put it back in the press for say 30 minutes. You can immediately take the roll out of the cleaner and put it right back in the press and run.
All right. And how do you determine the intensity of cleaning, maximum, heavy, or light? Although this was addressed during the presentation, but do you want to re-emphasize this?
Sure, Rich, you want to take that one?
Sure. So as we said in the presentation, you can pick medium, light, max, heavy. They're all safe. It doesn't matter to us which one you select. Customers select it based on time. So if it takes 8 minutes on light, it's going to take 16 minutes on max, right? That's the math we showed you. So it's just a matter of if you have 200 Anilox that you're trying to maintain in your facility, you might want to run things on medium and light. But there's other things like white. A lot of customers will clean white Anilox with max or heavy. If it's a varnish or an OPV or an adhesive, you're gonna lean towards max or heavy. It's just that simple. The other thing is the first time that you introduce an Anilox to our laser cleaning process, we would recommend going on max or heavy to make sure that the chemical washing that you've been doing hasn't left any dry ink in the bottom of the cells. Rodney, if you want to add anything that I missed.
No, I think you got it. The only other thing I'd add is, I've talked to a couple customers that actually are a little more scientific about it. So they will use an Anicam or a Microdynamics 3D QC, and they will measure their volumes and they will clean them, say when they drop 10% volume. And then they use that to kind of determine, based on how dirty it is, what setting to clean it on. We do that very, very regularly when we do a live demonstration. Customers send us rolls. We will measure it before, put it in, measure it after. We always tend to like to try to keep it on the lightest, fastest setting as possible.
Okay. So Rodney, you've answered my next question as well then, because that one was that how can we ensure the Anilox is cleaned properly? Is there any QC tool in the machine to check it?
Yep. And just the speed, if you think about it, the speed of cleaning that we have, you would take longer measuring rolls than you would to clean them. So our approach is take the roll out, set it next to it, measure it while you're cleaning the next roll. And then as you saw in the roll database, you can actually enter those volumes. And in future versions, we'll have a more integrated approach to that.
Okay. Now, there is a couple of questions which is coming from one participant, and I'll just read through some of them. It is, what is the type of laser used in the Meridian Elite? Is this something you can share, Rodney?
Actually, that we cannot share.
Okay. Then will the laser unit the only component that needs replacement, or there are other sensitive components as well in case of technical issues?
Rich, you can chime in on this, but I'll say that, you know, in the couple years that we've been shipping, we've not seen any issues we've seen have been infant mortality start up on our floor. We've not seen lasers need to be replaced in the field. There's really everything else is conventional controls for equipment, PLCs, contactors, motor starters, things that you have on a press. So they're just normal industrial controls. Rich, I don't know if I've covered that.
Yeah,
well.
This has just been a great product as a sales guy to sell, and the reliability is just off the charts. And the only thing that we would tell you is that make sure that you have the 5 micron filter bags available. And we typically ship anywhere from 5 to 10 of those bags with the laser. And we typically see you'll get 50 to 75 cleanings per bag. So with 5 to 10 of those, you've probably got 6 months or more of filter bags. So there's no need for a $20,000 spare parts kit. You don't need to have extra laser parts and stuff. No, it's just very reliable. Hope that answers the question.
So yeah, with this, we've answered most of the questions that have come up. I would like to invite the audience to send us questions post-show, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you very much, Rich and Rodney, for your patience so far, and also to the participants. With this, yeah, I would like to call it an end to the Q&A session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we have had an engaging, knowledgeable day today. A big thank you to the speakers and other panelists who joined the webinar. Stay connected with Print Packaging and Network event till we meet next time for another industry event. Thank you all for attending.
Thanks, Varsha, Neha, and everybody from Print Packaging and Network Events for putting this together.
Thank you, Vikramji.
And special thanks to Rich and Rodney, who've been up at early hours in their morning to do this for us, and in fact have been doing it over the last couple of days when we've been practicing our mocks. So thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. Happy to do it. Looking forward to working with you more.
Yep, we're honored we're honored and looking forward to the growth in India. Well done. Good job.
Thank you so much.